And good morning, everyone. I'm Matt Olson. I'm the Assistant Attorney General for National Security of the Department of Justice. Today we are announcing charges in the Central and Southern Districts of California against two active duty members of the United States Navy. Through the alleged crimes committed by these defendants, sensitive military information ended up in the hands of the People's Republic of China. U.S. Attorney Estrada and U.S. Attorney Grossman will discuss these cases in more detail in a moment. The charges demonstrate the PRC's determination to obtain information that is critical to our national defense by any means, so it could be used to their advantage. The alleged conduct also represents a violation of the solemn obligation of members of our military to defend our country, to safeguard our secrets, and to protect their fellow service members. In the first case out of the Central District, the defendant, a petty officer who served as a construction engineer, is charged with conspiring with a PRC intelligence officer to collect and transmit sensitive military information about naval operations. The defendant allegedly accepted bribes and gave a PRC intelligence officer photographs and videos of military exercise plans, operational orders, and electrical systems at a naval installation. In the second case out of the Southern District, the defendant faces charges for espionage and for violating our export control laws, for collecting and transmitting sensitive national defense information at the direction of the PRC intelligence officer. As tasked by the intelligence officer, the defendant allegedly transmitted or attempted to transmit more than 50 manuals and other documents containing technical and mechanical data about naval amphibious assault ships. Several of these materials were allegedly marked with export control warnings and detailed sensitive information about the power structure, weapon systems, and damaged control aboard those ships. These individuals stand accused of violating rules that protect the United States and ensure that those who are entrusted with our national security do not abuse their positions for any reason, including for personal profit. The National Security Division, my division, working with the U.S. Attorney's offices around the country, have been relentless in pursuing and holding accountable those who commit crimes to advance the interests of hostile nation states. And as I've said before, and as today's charges reflect, China, among all such nations, stands apart in terms of the threat that its government poses to the United States. China is unrivaled in the audacity and in the range of its malign efforts to subvert our laws. Make no mistake, as a department, we will continue to use every tool in our arsenal to counter the threat and to deter China and those who aid them in violating the rule of law and threaten our national security. I want to commend the outstanding work of the U.S. Attorney's offices and FBI field offices in Los Angeles and San Diego, as well as the FBI's Counterintelligence Division. The National Security Division works with these offices on the front lines to combat efforts by the PRC to engage in espionage and other activities that threaten our national security. These offices work closely with the Navy and other partners across the U.S. government to identify and to respond to such threats and to bring perpetrators to justice. I'll note that we are in San Diego, a city with an especially deep and long-standing tie to the United States Navy. The Navy plays an integral role in defending our country from all manner of threats and protecting U.S. values and our interests around the world, including in the Pacific region. Every day, the men and women of the Navy carry out their critical mission while upholding their duty to protect our interests. I'm particularly grateful to NCIS for its critical partnership in these cases, and the Department of Justice is proud to work shoulder to shoulder with NCIS, with the FBI, and our many military and law enforcement partners in responding to the threats to this country's most important institutions, whether those threats come from without or from within. And we stand ready to hold accountable those who would betray the public trust and violate the commitments that they have made to our country. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Martin Estrada. I'm the United States Attorney for the Central District of California, based in Los Angeles. We're here today to discuss our ongoing and intense efforts to protect the national security of the United States. As we continue to focus on this critical mission, we sometimes discover that threats to our national security come from inside our most esteemed institutions. Today, I will discuss one of those disturbing discoveries. This morning, prosecutors in my office unsealed an indictment charging Wang Heng Zhao, a petty officer in the United States Navy, with transmitting sensitive U.S. military information to an intelligence officer with the People's Republic of China, and doing so in exchange for money. The two-count indictment that we unsealed this morning charges Mr. Zhao with conspiring with the intelligence officer to provide this sensitive information, and also charges him with bribery, receiving bribes from the intelligence officer in exchange for the sensitive military information regarding the military's operations and infrastructure. Mr. Zhao was arrested yesterday, and we are currently seeking his continued federal detention. The indictment that we unsealed this morning alleges a scheme that began 2 years ago and continued through this past May. Petty Officer Zhao agreed to transmit and did in fact send sensitive U.S. military information to the intelligence officer working for the People's Republic of China. Mr. Zhao transmitted this information in exchange for payments that totaled approximately $15,000. As alleged in the indictment, in response to requests from the intelligence officer, Mr. Zhao used encrypted communications to send the sensitive information. The information included details regarding various aspects of the U.S. Navy's operational security and activity. Among other things, the indictment charges that Mr. Zhao transmitted operational plans for a large-scale U.S. military exercise in the Indo-Pacific region, which details specific location and timing of naval force movements, amphibious landings, maritime operations, and logistical support. In addition, we charge that Mr. Zhao took photographs of electrical diagrams and blueprints for a radar system located at a U.S. military base in Okinawa, Japan. We also allege that Mr. Zhao transmitted to the intelligence officer working for the People's Republic of China details about the Navy's operational security, including photographs and videos of the interior of naval bases located at Ventura and at San Clemente Island, which is the Navy's only live fire facility used for testing military equipment and operations. Mr. Zhao was based out of the U.S. naval base in Ventura County. By sending this sensitive military information to an intelligence officer employed by a hostile foreign state, Mr. Zhao betrayed his sacred oath to defend our country and uphold the Constitution. In short, Mr. Zhao chose a path of corruption, and in doing so, he sold out his colleagues at the U.S. Navy, the vast majority of whom, as we know, serve every day with honor, courage, and conviction. The case against Mr. Zhao is part of a larger national strategy to combat criminal efforts from nation-state actors to steal our nation's sensitive military information. The scheme alleged here is just one more example of the People's Republic of China's ongoing and brazen campaign to target U.S. officials with access to sensitive military secrets. There's nothing more important to the Department of Justice than protecting our nation's security. And my office will continue to aggressively pursue, investigate, and prosecute anyone who's entrusted with sensitive military information and violates that trust by providing it to our adversaries. I want to thank the people responsible for this important investigation. That includes the FBI's Los Angeles field office, their counterintelligence and cyber division, which led the investigation. I also want to give special mention to the Navy Criminal Investigative Service, NCIS, for their invaluable partnership and collaboration in uncovering this grave misconduct. And finally, I want to acknowledge and thank the attorneys in my office, the Assistant United States Attorneys responsible for the investigation and prosecution. These include AUSA's Anna Martine Salick, Christine Rowe, Catherine Seiden, and Sarah Gurgis. Thank you so much.
As you just heard, a federal grand jury in San Diego has indicted a United States Navy sailor for acting as a spy for China in exchange for thousands of dollars. the sailor, Jing Xiao Wei, was arrested by FBI and NCIS agents yesterday as he arrived for work at Naval Base San Diego around 5:20 a.m. Wei, a 22-year-old naturalized U.S. citizen, was indicted on espionage charges. He is accused of betraying his newly adopted country by stealing national defense information and selling it to his Chinese spy master. The crime of espionage under Section 794, to our knowledge, has never been charged in this district, and until today has only been charged 5 times in the last 6 years across the entire country. The statute is reserved for the most serious circumstances involving the passage of national defense information intended to harm the United States or for the benefit of a foreign power. The fact that we've charged it, in this case in San Diego, is a reflection of the seriousness of Wei's alleged conduct. Wei was assigned to the USS Essex in San Diego. It's an amphibious assault ship that resembles a small aircraft carrier. When deployed, these ships carry over 1,000 sailors and more than 1,500 Marines, along with fighting equipment, including Harrier jets, hovercrafts, armored vehicles, and helicopters. These ships are a crucial part of America's readiness to combat threats all around the world. Our indictment alleges that Wei was approached by a Chinese intelligence officer while his application to become a United States citizen was pending. Wei admitted to his handler that he knew this activity would be viewed as spying and could affect his pending citizenship application. Rather than report the contact, which he was trained to do, he chose instead to hide it. Whether it was greed or for some other reason, Wei allegedly chose to turn his back on his newly adopted country and enter a conspiracy with his Chinese handler. Our indictment alleges that over the course of more than a year and on multiple occasions, Wei sent national defense information to China, including documents, photos, videos, and technical manuals. In exchange, his intelligence officer paid Wei thousands of dollars. The officer even congratulated him when he became a U.S. citizen in May of 2022. Throughout this relationship, Wei provided his Chinese handler with information regarding the defense and weapons capabilities of U.S. Navy ships, potential vulnerabilities of these ships, and information related to ship movement. The unauthorized disclosure of this national defense information could place the national security of the United States and the safety of Wei's fellow U.S. Navy sailors in jeopardy. According to our indictment, Wei provided China with photographs of military hardware, including guns, vehicles, and planes. He delivered information about U.S. Marines involved in an upcoming international maritime warfare exercise, and he sold scores of technical and mechanical manuals related to the operation and power structures of amphibious assault ships. Some of the manuals contained information deemed quote-unquote critical technology by the U.S. Navy. Wei was only given access to these materials because of his status as a U.S. Navy sailor. San Diego indeed has a storied history with the United States Navy. We are the home port of the U.S. Pacific Fleet Surface Navy, with more than 50 U.S. Navy ships based here. Naval Base San Diego is critically important to U.S. security. That's why this conduct is personal for San Diego, and we will not stand for it. While this crime is exceptionally distressing, it is worth noting the exemplary work by the FBI and NCIS and our partners in Los Angeles in these cases. They were able to detect, investigate, and gather sufficient evidence to charge Wei with espionage, conspiracy to commit espionage, and violating U.S. export law. Our team did so in a short amount of time despite efforts by the defendant and his conspirator to hide their involvement. These are highly technical, highly difficult cases which require investigative savvy, technical know-how, and tenacity. The fact that these agents and prosecutors were able to discover this conduct and trace it back to an intelligence officer for the People's Republic of China is remarkable. We have entrusted members of our military with tremendous responsibility and great faith. Our nation's safety and security are in their hands. When a soldier or sailor chooses cash over country and hands over national defense information in an ultimate act of betrayal, we have to be ready to act. And that's exactly what we have done here. Thank you.
Good morning. I'm Stacy Moy, Special Agent in charge of the FBI's San Diego Field Office. I will be representing our proud FBI teams from San Diego, Los Angeles, and Counterintelligence Division. Today's announcement reflects the tremendous partnership between law enforcement and the U.S. intelligence community through our counterintelligence task forces to bring all tools and resources in combating hostile intelligence activity seeking sensitive U.S. military information which our service members depend their lives upon. I would like to first thank the Naval Criminal Investigative Service, NCIS, the U.S. Attorney's Office, and the Department of Justice National Security Division for their incredible work, rigor, and full commitment to bringing to justice those who intend harm to America. The FBI is continuously monitoring threats from foreign intelligence adversaries directed at our nation, and there is no bigger multi-generational threat to the United States than from the government of the People's Republic of China, the PRC, and the Chinese Communist Party. These cases highlight the enduring and egregious means by which the PRC will stop at nothing to attack the United States in their strategic plans to become the sole world superpower through a campaign of ripping off, replicating, and replacing. I'll say that again. Ripping off, replicating, and replacing. The PRC specifically targets members of our military community seeking access to our most sensitive technologies and warfighting capabilities to their own advantage. As uncovered and described in detail within the indictments, not only do they endeavor complex operations to steal earned knowledge, but they also seek crucial pieces in how to use these technologies most effectively with greater lethality, efficiency, and sustainability. The investigation illuminated not only their nefarious intentions, but led to the successful arrest of those who conspired to betray their sacred oath, disrupting the PRC's efforts to gain U.S. strategic and military logistics, plans, and readiness vital to our national security. This should send a clear message that we will not tolerate any attempts to undermine the sanctity and democratic freedoms of this great nation. In conclusion, I want to reiterate that the FBI will stop at nothing to combat the threat posed by the government of China and the Chinese Communist Party. I want to also emphasize that this is not and will never be an indictment of the Chinese people or ethnically Chinese Americans. This is solely based on individuals, regardless of national origin or ethnicity, conducting criminal activity violating the rule of law. We remain committed to use all law enforcement tools and resources in partnership with the U.S. intelligence community to protect our most precious assets, safeguarding the communities we serve, this generation and future generations. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Bryce Miller, and I am the Special Agent in charge of the NCIS Office of Special Projects. As the federal law enforcement arm and counterintelligence authority for the Department of Navy, NCIS is uniquely charged with leveraging our law enforcement capabilities and our counterintelligence authorities to protect U.S. Navy information, our warfighters, and the families from both criminal and adversarial intelligence threats. These include insider threats. According to the indictments in both Los Angeles and San Diego, U.S. sailors betrayed their oath to the Navy by willingly transmitting sensitive U.S. military information to a Chinese intelligence officer in exchange for money. Such criminality within the ranks is unacceptable, as we hold our service members who are trusted with our nation's secrets to a higher standard. Let me be clear. NCIS and the Department of Navy will not tolerate corruption that threatens Department of Navy readiness and capabilities. We will continue to vigorously pursue those who jeopardize the safety of our warfighters and our nation. Today, we express our deep appreciation for the ongoing support and partnership from the FBI and from the Department of Justice in these investigations. Thank you very much.
All right, we'll take a few questions, Luis.
Yes, where was he born? What nation?
Who?
The person that's been arrested.
In San Diego or Los Angeles case? Which case?
Here in, the person you're talking about here in San Diego.
Okay.
China. Yeah, all right, China. According to Navy records, he would.
Sorry, I just wanted to add on to that since it's related. Can you tell us where the other sailor was born?
Yeah, the other sailor.
Also China.
Also China.
Navy records.
Was he also getting U.S. citizenship? Was he in the process of getting U.S. citizenship? Was it similar to the San Diego case?
I'm not sure the answer to that question.
Well, I can say he was a naturalized U.S. citizen.
Thank you.
Okay, I think that the Essex was actually on deployment in the North Arabian Sea in February 2022. Is it being alleged that he was sending information while the ship was underway?
So, well, we're going to refer you to the indictments for that question. In other words, the information that we present in the indictments is what I'd refer you to and answer that question.
Well, with that information, do you have any other information on other ships of interest? Because there are almost 60 warships in San Diego Bay. Was he trying to get information on the 3 aircraft carriers here, or officer?
So as a general matter, of course, we're very concerned about the passage of national defense information that's alleged in these indictments. For that question, I'm going to refer you to the information that we presented in the indictment in the case. Are there other questions?
How did you catch on to this San Diego sailor, find out that he was communicating with this intelligence officer in China, and how long was he in the Navy for?
Randy, you want to address that question? You can come to the microphone.
Yeah, sure. Again, I hate to repeat the answer that you heard previously, but because of the status of the case, we refer you to the indictment for the facts that we've alleged about the background of the alleged conspiracy as well as the defendant.
And how long was he in the Navy for in San Diego? Because he's young, he's 22.
John, is there anything that we can add to that?
Approximately 2 years.
We think approximately 2 years.
And do you think his intent was to join with the intent of giving this information to China, or do you think his cohorts once he was, a citizen and then in the Navy?
Well, your question was his intent, and we certainly have alleged in the charging document, in the indictment, that his intent was to provide information to China, that he did do so, as alleged in the indictment.
I was wondering if these cases.
Yes.
Was the same intelligence officer involved with both of these individuals? And do we know what they plan to do with this information that they're getting?
Yeah. So the indictments speak for themselves with respect to the individuals that are named in the indictment, and I would refer you to those, Alex. Wouldn't want to comment beyond that at this time.
What's the relation between the 2 cases, generally?
The cases are related in the following sense. They reflect the concerted effort by the PRC, as we've discussed, to target members of the U.S. military to gain sensitive national defense information, and more generally, they're related because they reflect the overall effort and the malign activities of the PRC when it comes to threatening our national security.
As far as you know, though, does it appear that they were operating separately, or does it seem that they could have, the 2 sailors, also been in cahoots with each other?
Yeah, I'm not going to comment further on what's in the indictment.
We'll take one more question here.
Are you going to show us any pictures of the 2 men?
No.
Ever?
They'll be making appearances. They'll be making appearances in court, and that's about the best that we can do.
Yeah, they'll make their initial appearances in court, and later today in both cases.
But we can't go inside. Are you going to walk them through the courtyard? Can you tell us where?
No.
Thank you all.
Thank you all.
Could you at least tell us if there are Pendleton Marines? Please.
All right, so that right there was a news conference that was being held live, raw, and unfiltered over in San Diego, California. As we learned there from the DOJ, they say that 2 Navy sailors have been charged with